And welcome to yet another edition of Talking to Our Candidates. Tonight, we're going to be talking with a couple of candidates for City Council. The first of which is a young man who, among the HCGOP crowd, really needs no introduction. But this is a nonpartisan race, so tonight we're not really talking about party politics. We're talking about folks running to better their cities. So we have with us tonight Stuart Behar, who is running for Myrtle Beach City Council. And hopefully we can get Mr. Hunter Platt up and running because he is running for a seat in North Myrtle Beach. Right now, we're having a little bit of technical issues with Mr. Hunter. So we're going to go first with Stuart and see if we can't fix those issues with Mr. Platt and get him up in just a little bit.
How you doing?
Good evening, Stuart. How's it going?
I'm good. And remember, it's Bihar, not Behar, because I have no relation there.
Behar. All right, not Behar. Okay. Yes, we don't want you to be related at all to the View member, because if you were, I would tell you to call her up and
Yeah, I know.
So, well, tell me, Stuart, what exactly led to your decision to run for Myrtle Beach City Council?
That's interesting. I would sit here every day screaming at my computer with everything that's going on in the country and the world and everything else. And I said, I got to stand up. I've got to say, a lot of people sit there wringing their hands saying, what can I do? Well, I decided to do something. And I'm at my age, I'm running for city. I don't think or the qualifications to be a president yet, but city council. And I think people don't understand how important the city elections are. Everything starts at the city level, and people don't vote in the municipal elections, and it bugs me. And I think people need to get out and understand apathy will kill us. And we need to get out and vote. And we need to stand up and say, enough's enough. And that's what I'm doing. And, I figured, why not?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, are you running for a district position or is this an at-large position that you're running for?
Oh, no, that's at large. There's 3 seats up. Render retired. The opponents are Chestnut and Crotch. And, Chestnut's been there 20, not sure. But, they're, I don't see the city changing if we keep electing the same people over and over again. And if you want change, you have to elect new people. That's the only way you're going to make change. You can't make change just by sitting there going, well, I'm going to push this button and this button. It doesn't happen. And we need change desperately in this city.
Yeah. I know that one of the issues that came up here not that long ago was Ground Zero. And it was, it was a situation where Scott Peterson, the guy that, not Peterson, Pasteur that's actually running Ground Zero, they basically have had a lease with the city of Myrtle Beach for a while, and now it appears that we have Myrtle Beach wanting that property back. So hold on just one second. I think, Stuart, we have Mr. Hunter Platt now. Let's see if we can get him in here.
Hello?
Hunter, all right. Now we can see you. And we
Technical
can hear you.
terms.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yes. So Stuart and I were
Stuart,
just
how are
discussing,
you?
he is running for city council there in Myrtle Beach. And so you're just a little bit down the road from him running for city council in North Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
Stuart is running for an at-large seat. Is that the same for yourself? Are you also running at-large, or is there a specific district?
Running for Crescent Beach.
Crescent Beach. Okay. So, and election, I'm assuming, is still November 7th. You guys are both elections on the
Yes.
same day. We're not having some wonky different day kind of thing. Okay, great. Well, I let Stuart kind of explain why he decided to run. So we'll give you an opportunity to share what made you decide to run for city council. I always joke and say anybody that gets into politics, did you fall and hit your head? Did somebody club you from behind and convince you that you should run? So what led you to decide to get into the race, Hunter?
People have always wanted me to run, either county, city, state level. And I've been a volunteer my whole life. I live to serve the people, everything I do. And it was just time for me to step up from boards and committees and commissions. So
Great. Great. So, Stuart, I want to jump back to you again real quick, and then I'll ask you basically the same question, Hunter. When you're out talking to the folks, Stuart, what has been their number one concern for the area in Myrtle Beach?
Number one concern that I've is infrastructure, and that covers a lot for me. And I think if you don't have the infrastructure is basically the base, and if you don't have the good base, you're going to have a weak, you know, building or whatever you're doing. Infrastructure, we just keep building, building, building. Developers get a yes every time they go to the city council or whether they get a yes. And we've got homes going up. The roads need to be, we need roads to get into these places. We have two major highways, 17 and 17, you know, and they're getting, you know, overburdened, and, you know, hospitals, schools, none is being looked at. I mean, and the problem is the city is a huge landowner, and we know who the other one is. There is like $238 million in debt long term. And that means interest on that must be 10 to 15 million. That won't be paid off in our lifetime.
Gotcha. All right. So, Hunter, how about down there in North Myrtle Beach? If you're talking to folks, or you obviously you live there, what are some of the major concerns of the voters in the area where you are running?
Just like Stuart said, most people, it's infrastructure, traffic, roads, some issues with drainage, stormwater. I mean, it's all part of the territory when you have growth. You know, I grew up here, and this place was a tiny little beach town, and it's a great place to live. It's we got a lot of things to offer for people moving here. But the challenge, you know, the growth isn't going to stop. I don't care if you do this or do that. These people are going to keep coming down here and keep coming down here. And the city leaders and the county leaders and state leaders are just going to have to figure out ways to mitigate and handle it. And most cities and counties and, you know, local governments, they don't have the money to do the infrastructure up front, because and that's most cities on the planet and municipalities and whatever else, because, you know, it's typically build it and then some tax revenue comes in and then they try to adapt. And there are cities that actually spend money up front, like Vegas. They'll actually go out and spend $20-30 million in infrastructure, but they have a lot of revenue from certain venues and stuff, so they can actually do it that way. Here, we get a lot of tax accommodations for all the rentals and stuff, and so it's more of a mitigation process than anything else. And we can slow growth. We can just deny stuff and, you know, slow it that way. If stuff has to be rezoned. Now, if it's already zoned for development, there's not much you can do because it's private property, and you can't prevent somebody from developing the property if it's, you know, if the plan meets the current zoning. So it's a process.
Well, let me ask you
But
this question.
I still feel like that North Myrtle Beach is still a fairly small community. We still have some family values. It's a good place to raise a family. There's a lot of things for to do, and of course, we have awesome beaches.
Right. Right. Well, I know, and talking about the money for the city, I know everybody who knows anything about the Myrtle Beach Chamber of Commerce knows that they're receiving from the tax base in Horry County 54 million a year to help induce, advertise, whatever, get folks to come down here to vacation. Now, I know because I have family that come as well. I'm from South Carolina myself, and so I went to Coastal Carolina. So this has been a place that we vacation. Yeah, vacation here for a long, long time. And as you said, it's changed quite a bit since I was a kid and to an adult. But I'm kind of curious if we can't reallocate some of that funding that we've been sending to the chamber for advertisement. Maybe we need to split that money up and only send them half the money for advertisement and take the other 20 million or so and spend it on infrastructure. I mean, you know, Hunter, excuse me, Stuart, how would you bring about the idea of let's reallocate this funds for a better use?
Okay, well,
If that's, you know, option.
I've been taken to task by the president of the chamber when I spoke out at a meeting some months ago. We're the only city. I think Surfside pays very little. We're the only city paying the grand strip, and we're paying, like you say, about 50 million a year. That's coming, 80% of the TDF tax, which I'm not opposed to, is going to the chamber. Well, okay, they have to go to the state to get it changed. So go to the state.
Right.
Don't just sit there waiting for the state to say, okay, would you like to change it? They're not going to. I'd rather see 80% go to the people and 20% go to the chamber. Do we really need to spend money on advertising? People are going to come here, and they're coming here. And the one issue is they're staying, and they're staying and building and building and building, and it is affecting the city. I'm not against development. I'm not against people coming here. I came here, but what I am looking at and wondering why we're giving so much money to the chamber. I don't think we need to, and that's huge.
Okay. Well, I'm not, I understand again the origin of that decision to send that money. But again, when we look at, the expression was, if you build it, they will come. Remember from Field of Dreams. So we're kind of doing it the other way around. If you advertise, they will come, and then we'll build it. So no, what's happening is they're coming, and then we're building, and so we're sort of putting the cart before the horse. And I like what you were saying, Hunter, about in Vegas, where they have this tax base to be able to draw from to sort of put things out there in advance. Now, I'm going to say this, a lot of people are going to say, "What?" But in places like New York and California and others, a lot of times they put the onus on developing the roads and that sort of infrastructure, your sewage, your storm drains, and things like that on the builders. So you get a new development that's planned. They say, listen, okay, if you're going to put this in here, let's see how it's going to impact the neighborhood. Let's make sure we widen the roads, put in the turning lanes, put in the red lights. All of that. By the way, we're going to need more schools, so on and so forth. And they help to make that happen. And of course, the city's going to come in and pick up the largest portion of that. But what are your thoughts about increasing the taxes, or not the taxes, the fees that we put on builders? I know that in Horry County, it basically got, like, was reduced to next to nothing. I think what did they decide on, 2,000 or something like that per home? And we all know whatever amount you make it's going to get passed on to the consumer. So it's not like the builder, Lennar or DR Horton or Beazer or anybody else is actually going to pay that. It's just going to get passed on to the home builder. So what are your thoughts about something like that, Hunter, in terms of helping to pay for infrastructure?
Well, I think that's something that county council has really taken into consideration. They're in the works of looking at some revised impact fees as we speak, not just residential but commercial. And to go back to your comment about DR Horton and the impact fees, those have to be paid up front on however many lots they build, and that's a lot of money for any developer. I don't care how deep your pockets are, and
Right.
that can be the difference between doing the project and not doing the project. So, but like you said, in the long game, all those funds will be passed on to the retail product, which any
Right.
smart business person would do that. It's just like anything else. Yeah.
Right. Well, I
And
would
City of North
imagine,
Myrtle
and
Beach is that they've recently adopted some impact fees to kind of have a little more say-so control of what product comes into the city, which is not a bad thing.
right. So, same question to you, Stuart. What do you think about having those impact fees increased? Or, I do understand what you're saying, that that's an upfront cost, and I get that. That's, as I said, in places like New York and California, which some folks would refer to them as as a little too socialist or maybe even communist, impact fees are considerably higher because they are required to put all of this infrastructure in place before they're allowed to build. So, is that something that you see coming here, or is that not feasible for South Carolina? What are your thoughts on that, Stuart?
Well, I questioned that, and I wanted to know what kind of impact, investigations or any fees that they do. They're only responsible for sewer and water
Mhm.
as far as impact. They're not responsible for anything else. And I think that if they're going to build and develop, they need to be responsible for everything in the location, everything that they're building in, streets, whatever. And I think they're getting away. The developers are basically From what I see, like I say, the city council's never turned down one developer that I've seen at every meeting I've been at. And I think the developers need to put more into their cost and take it away from the city. Why should the people in the city be paying for developments all over the city? Let's stretch it out to the developers. Let's make them put more in. Let's make them have some more fat.
What are your thoughts on that, Hunter?
Um, I don't know about the city of Myrtle Beach, but I do know North Myrtle Beach and Horry County. They put a lot of I don't want to say burden, but a lot of upfront fees, and they ask a lot of the developers. They'll make them pave roads, add in extra water or sewer capacity above and beyond what's required for them, maybe a water tower to help the surrounding community to make the water pressure better. I mean, the cities and the counties, they have a lot of times, especially if they do a development agreement, they're in a good position to ask and get a lot of stuff out of the developer, so the developer will agree to it. So then, in theory, the project will push forward. And then and just like I said, recently the city and the county have reevaluated their impact fees and what they, and it's usually on a per unit basis. There are water and sewer impact fees on top of this. So if there's 120 homes, they got to pay X amount of dollars for those 120 homes. So the cost to develop in this county has increased significantly.
Yeah.
For better or
course,
worse, depending on how you look at it.
We don't want impact fees to become prohibitive for anyone.
Right.
When I ran for county council, and one of the things that I often was asked is, do I support a moratorium? And my response was, well, it depends on what your definition of moratorium is. If it is, we tell everybody to stop building, no, because I don't think that's constitutional. I said, how can I, as a person who believes in the Constitution, tell you, hey, great, you bought 50 acres of land and now you want to sell it and make, millions of dollars, but sorry, we're not going to let you. I don't know that that's the right thing to do. Now, if it is to build responsibly so that we make sure we sort of layer this out so that we don't have, all of these homes built at one time, it's done in phases, which is what I'm seeing here in my neighborhood. They do it by phases. That's a little bit more acceptable. And we need to make certain that we're not overburdening our schools, because already that is an issue. So I don't know here in the area. I'm in Myrtle Beach, but not in the city. I'm on the other side of the waterway. So our schools are at capacity and over. So are you seeing those kinds of issues with your schools in the North Myrtle Beach city area? Is that something you're hearing, Hunter?
Yeah, I mean, all the schools have been impacted, county level, city level, and most of all the schools are run by Horry County school system. They have their own budget separate from the county and the cities, and they work hand in hand with all your cities and your county municipalities to coordinate their budget on projected growth. Like I forget the lady's name it runs. She does a really good job. She runs Grand Strand Water and Sewer, and I do apologize, but
That's okay.
She's in good communication with, like in the county parts, with the Joe Burgess and some of the other folks that are involved in the construction and kind of run the school board, or kind of staff level, but underneath the school board, so they can plan and prepare their budget. So they're 2, 3, 4 years out planning for all this proposed growth. So at times you will see a large influx, but they'll eventually catch up, work it all out like they always do. And we've actually got developers that will donate land for schools as part of their projects, which that's been done in the past as well as here recently. Although the project was denied at planning commission and at council level, the developer did propose to allocate like 25 or 30 acres for a new school. So the developers understand kind of the new rules to the game of what they have to do. So we're progressing, but like you said, you don't want impact fees to be just prohibitive where it just stops everything, because part of our economy depends on this continued growth.
Absolutely. So Stuart, what are your thoughts in terms of, now this is just me as a casual observer. I live here in, as I said, Forest Brook, Myrtle Beach area, but it's not Myrtle Beach City. But what I've noticed is driving around, they're building townhouses now and some other houses throughout. And I would venture to guess that if I walked over there and yelled, INS, it'd be a lot of people scattering. So we don't seem to be in when we talk about our labor base, it seems to me that at least in the rural parts that we need some sort of jobs, and it can't just be construction because I don't think construction is hiring all the right people. So, Stuart, if you're looking at Myrtle Beach, what are some areas that you think you could bring in some new opportunities? Because we're having a little bit of what they call brain drain. We got this great university here and this technical college, but it doesn't seem that kids graduate and then stay. They seem to be graduating and moving on. So, what do you think that we should maybe hope to see in the city that could help
Well,
keep some of those folks here?
yeah, I don't see, as I drive around, I see lots of restaurants with no help. That's been an issue hiring people, which is
Mhm.
kind of a disease now in our country.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I would like to support small businesses more than they do. From what I see, and it bothers me. I mean, if you look at where they had the super block and they chased all the owners out and they've had a lawsuit and the city won the lawsuit. Well, who ended up owning it? The
Right.
city and B and C. And, if you try and go to the community appearance board to get a sign put up, uh, the city will sit on it. I've heard horror stories. Sometimes you just want to paint the inside of your building, and it could be
Yeah.
months or longer. And sometimes, I've spoken to people that own buildings, and they just throw their hands up in the air. I don't think we're supporting the smaller businesses in this city as much as we should be, and I see them chasing people out, changing zoning or whatever it is. Um, I don't, not being on the city council, I is right now, but one of the things
Mhm.
that I want to find out when I get in there is why
Mhm.
this is happening. I want to support the businesses. I want to support the people, and you can't just put in big, housing without, again, you got to do some other stuff. And I want to see them support the small business. I want to see that support. And I don't see it, and I'm not sure all the reasons, but I want to find out when I get in there.
Well, and one thing I noticed that seems to me, and this is just a personal opinion of what I've seen, is that in Myrtle Beach, there seems to be a lot more blighted areas than what you see in a North Myrtle Beach. North Myrtle Beach seems to be a little, uh, there's not as many, worn down. And part of that could just be that growing up, again, as I said, in South Carolina, you would come down, the pavilion was there and there was stuff to do. And now there's
Mhm.
this big empty spot. It just looks bad. Um, so, Hunter, down there in North Myrtle Beach, I don't think you have the same issues in terms of that sort of blight that's going on. So, for you guys, what aside from tourism is a possible industry that you could see bringing into the city that might help bring in a better source of revenue for folks looking for jobs?
Well, I know there's proposed in some existing industrial parks, 3122 interchanges. We, recently had, I think it was EPS come in and build a little operational center. I know, I think it was Pepsi. I'm not 100% sure, but
Mhm.
they've just moved up there. So we're, as the city of North Beach continues to grow, because compared to Myrtle Beach, North Beach was a sleepy little beach town because all the
Right,
tourists went to Myrtle Beach. When I was growing up, that's where all the high
right,
rises were. And we were just little tiny beach cottages, maybe one or two high rises, but not a lot. And we still don't have a lot of high rises because our
right.
city leaders have made the decision, good or bad. I'm not making an opinion one way or the other. It's just an observation where we've gone the other direction where we just
Yeah,
build these larger residential rentals, still increase our tax base, but it doesn't put all this, infrastructure, towers, high rises,
yeah,
parking decks, because there's a lot of people that are for parking decks and there's a lot of people that are against parking decks. So it depends on who you
mhm,
talk to. So a lot of the older beach homes have been torn down, and these newer, better, larger, more capacity beach homes have been built. So then there were some concerns about parking issues. So the city's done a good job with buying sites for additional parking. So I feel like as we've grown, some of the decisions that have been made have been beneficial for the long term.
Well, it's interesting you bring up parking. I know one of the complaints that I've heard from both people in Myrtle Beach as well as North Myrtle Beach is the limited amount of parking. And there are folks that say, listen, if we live here, we should be given some kind of a discount to be able to park so we can go down and have access to the beach and the public beach access. That is a limited amount. So, what is a way that we can solve that? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not a proponent of let's put these giant high rises and these big parking structures that kind of blights, in my opinion, makes the view of the beach ugly. In Hawaii, they kind of said no more buildings, no more high rises because it's the scenery and the landscape is what you come for. You don't come to see a cement jungle. So understanding that if you have a limited area to build, your only option is to go up. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts that we should charge for folks who are local to park, or should we not charge? How do we answer that? Because honestly, that's something I've heard so many people complain about, not being able to actually access the beach, and they moved here and they can't ever go down there. So we'll go to you first, Stuart. What are your thoughts about how we can sort of allow people more opportunity?
Yeah, Myrtle Beach just went to year-round paying for parking. Except as people who live here permanently, they can still get the sticker and park free at meters and things. But you can't do that in the public lot. You get downtown, on Ocean Boulevard, it's crowded. There aren't a lot of, lots. There's not a lot of place to park. And you were talking about blight. I mean, I drove down Ocean Boulevard from about 9th Avenue South to 2nd Avenue, and there was almost every hotel there was,
Right.
supposedly there's a rumor that they want to put a casino there. I don't know that, but
That was a question coming up.
but yeah, I think parking and the thing is, the people who live in the city know they can go to the state parks. They know that they can get parking for for a year on those. If I were as living here, I wouldn't go to the public beaches myself, only because I can go to a private one, a little more private one for the citizens. Yes, parking is an issue. There isn't a lot of parking, and I think. I don't think the city. I think the city is upsetting people, and I believe we have a lot of part-time people living here. They live here 6 months or whatever. Taxes. They're paying taxes. They're not getting the discount from the TDF that the people who live here full time are getting. They're not getting the parking special. I don't see any problem with giving them some kind of discount. I don't see any problem with giving them parking at the meters and things. They don't vote, and they're not going to vote for me saying that. It's just the way I look at it for the people. What do the people want? And as far as I'm concerned, I don't work for the city. I work for the people. And if I had my way, once I got on the council, I would have to have regular town hall meetings and ask the people, what do you want? We don't really ask them. We don't really care. We're going to do this, and we're not going to, if you don't like it, oh, well, you can't do that. You work for the people. And that's
Well,
my feeling.
sadly, I think Stuart, you and I both can agree that even if the city did have, as you say, town hall meetings, the attendance would be sparse.
Yeah.
People just
Maybe
don't
in the
seem to,
beginning.
unless they get fired up about something, like with the school boards. During COVID, I always say I'm a retired school teacher, so I always say that during COVID, when we had the exposure to what was being taught to the kids because of the Zoom classes and everything, and parents started saying, "You what? What was my kid being taught?" So that got them out, and then of course the mask and the mandates and all of that brought them out as well. And so that was the first time you saw sort of a resurgence of people getting active in their schools. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, PTL was not PTL, PTA was the big thing for parents to go to and talk with their teachers, and it kind of died away. So I would love to see that, Stuart, and I'd love to see it be successful for people to show up. Now, down in North Myrtle Beach, the parking issue is less of a thing because, again, you guys are still fairly rural. You don't have the monstrosity of buildings, and it's not so crowded. which is why that's where I go. Uh, but
Yeah,
so
we have awesome beaches here.
yeah, we really do. I know.
Mhm.
I just remember being a kid and going to the beach, and as I said, we'd go down there and we'd be in the oh, the Gay Dolphin and getting our tickets, and then we'd go to the pavilion and we'd ride our rides and do all that kind of stuff. And now and walk on the beach, and it would just be, I mean, that'd be people obviously, but it wouldn't be anything like it is now when at the height of the tourist season. And I know that Hunter, you can relate to this. There was a time when, if you go back to COVID, that's how it was all the time in the winter. I mean, it was like
Mhm.
tumbleweeds. Nobody was there, and
Oh yeah,
that's
come
definitely
Labor Day,
transitioning.
you just Labor Day, you just cut the lights off, and
Yeah,
then
roll the
4 or 5 months
sidewalk.
would get, yeah, 4 or 5 months would,
Yeah,
and you would budget your money because there would be no income for 4 or 5 months before it rolls back around in the spring. And I remember waiting tables growing up and bartending and whatever else, and boss come in, all right, see you in 3 months. Here's, go get unemployment, come back 3 months, and you're hired again, and you just have to budget accordingly. But that was a long time ago. This place
yeah.
is, we have a shoulder season now, so we basically have some sort of tourism income pretty much year round, especially with the sports tourism. Um, North Myrtle Beach has got a sports park, so the cities have tried to figure out a way outside of the beach to bring in tourism. But
Hmm.
as always, our beach is our golden ticket and always will be.
Sure,
So
sure.
and that's why I think the both municipalities spend so much time and effort between renourishment and everything else they do to keep it where it needs to be. So we keep getting our, to support our tourism. So,
Speaking of that, the sports, John Cummings, who unfortunately was not able to make it tonight, but not for a good reason. Tonight was his wife's birthday, so best not to have the wife angry at you. So he missed it, but he does a lot of calling of the baseball games for the Pelicans, and he's noted many many times that they're talking about refurbishing that so that they can get a higher level uh, team in here. And he has said, listen, if you would build something that would seat 9,500 people, an indoor stadium, we could host, major basketball tournaments. As an example, last year, the Lady Gamecocks had the highest attended um,
oh yeah.
tournament in history for women's sports,
Mm-hmm.
and it was held up at Bon Secours in Greenville. Well, hey, man, let's get those folks down here to the beach because we already have the hotel infrastructure. We've got the hotels. So let's put something down here. And I guess that's what I was trying to drive you guys towards when I said, what else do you see that we could do? Because tourism is great in terms of an industry to get people,
Mm-hmm.
hired, but not everybody wants to work in that field. So let's find something else. And I do think that having a sports facility, because not only would you have, great sports venues, but let's talk about Donald Trump. Donald Trump would love to come down here, but he wants to be able to come to a location where he can seat more people. And outside of the outdoor stadiums, there's not a lot of options for him. And what about major concerts? I'm tired of driving to Charleston to go see a concert. Why can't we put a facility in North Myrtle Beach or Myrtle Beach that seats, like I said, that 9,500 people, that we can have a concert that comes into town and that we really all want to go see and enjoy. So that's just my thing. And then the next, for example, Pink is a singer that I like. She's coming in concert in November 12th, I think, but in Charlotte. So I was like, let's get some of those folks down here at the beach, and let's have an industry that says, look, we can do more than just offer you the beach. We have other things we can offer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
if
I know there's been discussion in both cities, whether it's private or public, about creating those kind of opportunities.
yeah,
Um, it,
now
it
go ahead,
was
Stuart.
interesting at the meeting the other day. They were talking about the Pelicans and extending and everything.
Mhm.
And I believe that was held over. There was a gentleman who got up and spoke, and he said, why can't we make it a dome stadium or something that could be multiple sports? We can have
Right.
hockey, we can have basketball,
Sure.
whatever it is. And like you said about concerts and things, they kind of stared him down a little bit, like but I don't know if you're aware of this this surf park, indoor surfing thing that's being touted.
I've heard
And
of it.
I was at the meeting the other day when they spoke, and they need him because they're having a hard time getting support from their backers. Backers don't want to put money into it, and they needed an extension. And so the city gave them the extension. Well, I don't know if you're aware of that land that they want to build it on. Originally, the city purchased it's like 21 acres about 20 years ago or so, a couple of decades. They paid $250,000 an acre. Now, I don't know. I'm not a real estate guy. I don't know what the current value of that land would be, but I'd be willing to bet it's a lot more than $250,000 an acre. So they had it appraised, and it was appraised at $6 million, but devaluated it down to $4.5 million. Basically, it comes out to $208,000 an acre. Why? Why are we giving that land to them so cheap? You want to develop it, pay for it. And you know, I mean, there's dirt on there apparently that when they built, you know, Broadway on the beach. Well, okay, it's going to cost $2 million. Part of what it's going to cost you. Just get the money and do it, but don't give it away. Don't give them the land like we're doing. Basically, I mean, that land should not be going for $208,000 an acre. And who's paying for it? We are.
Yeah.
The citizens.
I'm not sure I understand the concept of an indoor surf. Listen, I own a sporting goods store now. Retired teacher, retired coach, played, as I said, played collegiately here for JS Townley softball. But when folks come in and say, "Hey, do you sell surfboards?" I'm like, "Have you been to the beach?" Because we don't get waves big enough to surf. You want to surf, you have to go a little further down, maybe go to Florida or Hawaii. We really don't have the
north.
type of waves that you need for surfing. So I'm just like, why are we creating it? I don't get it. But you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe there's some group of people out there that really want to be surfers, and that's going to be a big draw. I think it's going to end up like the skate park over here at the Waccamaw. I don't know if you know about that, Stuart. They had built this outdoor, you know, skate park thing, whatever bike thing, whatever thing was. I think it's called Music Skate. Anyway, and it's and now it's been replaced with I think FedEx has put in a new facility there. So I think I can understand why the bikers, by the backers rather, might be a little hesitant to throw money into that, especially if that when you're getting into the millions, because you want to make sure your ROI is going to actually be validated. And I'm not really sure the ROI for that is there, but again, could be wrong. Don't know. I'm not a surfer, but so kind of a last couple of questions I'll ask you guys is, you know, Stuart, what's the first thing that you're going to try to accomplish when you get on, if you're elected, and you get onto the city council of Myrtle Beach? What's going to be the first thing that you try to put forward? And then Hunter, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Well, okay. One of the is crime. Myrtle Beach, based on FBI statistics, rates us fifth most dangerous city in the country based on per capita. And per capita, not actual numbers. We beat Detroit and LA. You know, we're the fifth most, and that's all crimes. I don't understand that. You know, but if you ask somebody if they want to go downtown at night, they're not going to. We have a major drug issue here with opiates and stuff. In fact, the fire department is pushing a program now to give, you know, Narcan and things.
Yeah, that's due to fentanyl.
You know,
Yeah.
but yet, you know, we still are we have the crime. And then people say, well, because we get all those people here as tourists. Well, they compared us to like Hawaii and Florida, and we still beat them, you know.
Yeah.
So I think so. I'd like to see developers. I think we need to start saying no to some of them. They've green lighted every developer I've ever seen go before the board, the council, and also, you know, you talk about the ocean, you know, the dirtiest oceans in the country. And I believe the E. coli, and I believe we need to look at our ecosystems, the drainage and the sewers. There's a reason that's happening. And I don't know that that's being addressed. Not being on I don't have every answer to that. I want to find that out, and that's important.
Well, I know one thing I'll say about the ocean this year is that if you had an opportunity to go down there, it didn't look like Myrtle Beach. It's like it was blue. And it was like, wow, oh my God, it's beautiful. The beaches looked a lot more like what you expect to see down in Florida. So, and I was told that the reason why the water looks kind of dirty, if you will, is because when the storms start churning up the water out there in the Atlantic, they then push all that soil in, and it gives it that nice dark
Mhm.
look. My only question to that is, and this is kind of what I said, yeah, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense when you go down to Florida where they have way more storms than we do and their water's pristine. I don't get it. So I don't know. Not a biologist, not a microbiologist, not a marine biologist. Don't know the answer to that, but that's that. So same question to you, Hunter. You get onto the North Myrtle Beach City Council. What's going to be one of the first things that you try to push for or that you want to make a change in?
I'm trying. I'm going to try and look at some of the ordinances as it relates to maybe tightening a few things up. I know at the county level, they've created a lot of new ordinances and grandfathered some other ones where it provides staff and the planning department a little more control as to what specific use can go where. I think that's a good thing long term instead of leaving it up to like a committee or a board where there may be, and I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I'm just saying it's where, and this happens not just city, but counties and every city on the planet, where there may not be a consistency to the way they give variances or whatever else. And it could open up the city or the county or whoever you're talking about to potential litigation. So I'd like to look at some of that stuff, tighten up some of the existing rules and laws and force like golf carts. I hear all complaints all the time about we turn
Mm-hmm.
into a golf cart city, and I'm all for golf carts. Just let's figure out some way to enforce traffic laws on a few of them because you see them
Yes.
driving around, and I know it's tough, and you're trying to educate the public. I know when I was on planning commission at the city, I was part of the future land use plan, and that was one of our things was let's make these golf cart folks educate these tourists and these renters and they have to hand out pamphlets and there's a lot of education that's mandated or required for these type of operations, and the key is just to follow up with them. And there's a couple other areas I'd like to address, but the main thing is just to review kind of what we're doing, where we're headed. I think Norfolk Beach has done a great job in the last 20 years of kind of handling the growth, and I just like to continue that and see everybody prosper and keep a nice small family value type community and just move forward. And that takes in consideration improving roads, stormwater management, mitigate some of the issues and challenges. I mean, the weather patterns have changed. When I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like my parents' yard up on the north end, we get this heavy thunderstorm, nothing. And now we get a heavy thunderstorm, and my mom and dad's yard is 2 inches underwater. So it's
Yeah.
just things have changed. So every time we have these hurricanes, we're having more rain. And again, with the growth, we've had less. The watershed areas are getting reduced
Right.
or
The water has
impacted.
nowhere to go. Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and on even with that caveat, 20 years ago, even if we had the same growth now, you wouldn't have in theory, you may not have had the flooding that we're having now because we're getting such more of an impact from the weather, whether it's storm surge or just the amount of rainfall. I mean, I've been through, like Nikki Haley said, this 1,000-year flood. I mean, I've never seen that in my
And
entire
Matthews.
life. I'm over 50, and we've had what 3 events like that here on the Grand Strand. Where it's just
Yeah.
insane, where you get 20 inches of rain. So I
Yeah.
mean, as this continues, which it probably will, I'm not a scientist or meteorologist, but based on the trend, it probably will. The engineers and the critical thinkers are just going to have to adapt and mitigate and start forecasting and taking this stuff in consideration as we continue to grow and develop as not just the cities, but as the human race does on the planet. So,
Well, Hunter, to that end, let me ask you this question, and then Stuart, I'm going to ask you the same question as well. Last, you know, 3 years ago, we had COVID came in, and there was, a lot of confusion and misunderstanding, and what do we do, and how do we protect ourselves? And so first they said, okay, don't wear a mask, and then it was wear a mask, and then it was, okay, we got this vaccine. If you're such and such age or have these other attributes that might lead you to be more susceptible, then you need to take the vaccine, all those kind of things. So, Hunter, what is your view of government's role in mandating ordinances like you have to wear a mask or a business has to have all of its employees, vaccinated? Where do you stand on that? Are you in support of those types of mandates, or do you think that goes too far and violates the Constitution?
I think it went a little too far. It's like you said, it was totally mismanaged, not just from top down, so to speak, and a lot of it because there was so much unknown, and the reaction was overreact, and and you can go back and armchair quarterback this all day long for how they did it, but they did it the best way they thought they could handle it. But what was that? I was not a fan of the mandates because mandates is not a law. It's just
Right.
you should wear a mask kind of thing. Enforcing private business owners, I thought that was way overreach. Doesn't mean that the private business can't make their employees wear masks, but that's up to the private folks. But for the federal government to tell these folks, I was not a big fan of that. No.
Well, it wasn't just the federal government. We had the Mayor Hatley, and Mayor,
Well, I think a
I
lot of
think,
that had to
yeah,
do with money. Just if you do this, we'll give you some money, and not
right,
just North Myrtle Beach, but a lot of municipalities did it. It's
sure,
like
yeah, Myrtle Beach,
it's
yeah,
it's part of
exactly.
play the game to be part of the whole thought process. But just from the fact that the mandates and stuff, I was not a big fan of. No.
All right. So, Stuart, where are you standing on the mandates? What are your thoughts if that comes back around again? As they're trying to bring it back to life, they're trying to resuscitate the virus.
You know, first of all, there was so much misinformation
Mm.
on that virus, and handled it like New York and California. I moved here from California during the COVID. We moved here, and it was so nice to get away from the masks and all that stuff. And what bothered me was you got to take the shot. You got to take the shot. You couldn't fly a plane, in a plane or anything like that. To me, and you got the people on the left who were pushing the shot, and they're the same ones that want abortion. Well, it's my body. I should be able to do what I want. Well, this is my body, and I don't want to do that. I can tell you honestly, I got really sick a week after the first shot. I was found to have AFib, which sucked. And I'm not saying it was, there's a lot of issues about, those shots. Nobody really understood what they would do to people. And
Right.
I'm just opposed to, you can't force. And I like Hunter said, I don't like mandates. Don't tell me I have to wear a mask. Don't tell me I have to wash my hands 50 times a day. And don't tell me I have to put something in my body that I don't want. That's wrong. And I mean, I still see people driving in their car by themselves. I don't get it, and I don't think those masks really stopped anything. And if anything, if you were sick and you wore a mask and you put the same mask back on, you're breathing in whatever it is you had. So no, I'm against, like he said, I'm against mandates. I don't think people should be forced to do anything. This is a free country. It's America. And I believe under the Constitution, they can't really do that. Our bodies belong to us, like they say. And if I don't want to get a shot, I shouldn't have to get a shot.
Well, I know John Cummings, again, he came down about the same time you did, Stuart. He was coming from New York. You were coming from California. And he said that he couldn't believe it, that he tried to go to the beach in Myrtle Beach, and the police were actually there blocking the public parking spaces and said, hey, the beach is closed. So he drove on down to Georgetown, and the beaches were open. So that's the kind of insanity I'm talking about. Is that I don't, and I agree with you, Hunter, in that private businesses, they want to say you got to wear a mask to come in. That's them, their private business. But because then we, the consumers, can choose to either shop there or not. But
Right.
the
You
idea of
have a
closing down
choice.
beaches. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the choice should stay with the people. So I
Mhm.
like that. Well, I'm going to give each of you a couple minutes to kind of share any final thoughts for why you want voters to vote for you, why you're the candidate that's going to best represent them. Hunter, I'll let you go first with what it is you want to impart to voters. Get out on November 7th, folks, and vote for Mr. Hunter Platt. And here's why.
New face in the race. I've always wanted to be on city council. it's ingrained in my nature. I'm a helpful person, probably to a detriment financially. I mean, I've served city, I've served the county. I've been on planning commission of the county for the city. I've been on the tax appeal board, the zoning appeals board, numerous other boards and committees. I do a lot of nonprofit stuff. So it's just kind of in my nature. So this to me is just the next step in the evolution of that ongoing live to serve thought process, I guess. And, just vote for me for change and, just moving forward.
All right. Sounds good. All right, Stuart, same question to you. Why should the folks vote for Stuart
Because
Behar?
I'm a nice guy. No, because I believe in the people. The people are the boss, period. And we have too many politicians, which I'm not, thinking, that we're a republic where the people vote in the representatives. And the representatives suddenly take a turn and turn on the people. No, I think the people are the most important thing. We need to work with and for the people of wherever we're representing. Like the fact that, if I can get in there, I would like to get in there. I want to have accessibility. I wanted people to know they can get a hold of me. I'm not going to be some space somewhere where they can't reach me. And I may not get back right away, but I want them to know they can call whatever it is that they have an issue with. I have no problem helping fix people's problems. And that's what we're there for. I want to work on the crime. I want to work on getting the budget, the debt down. The debt this city has is just way too high. And the more I can learn once I'm on there, the more effective I can be. And again, this is about the people. What do the people want? What do the people need? I ask people that, and it's you have to be responsive to the people you work for, and it's about respect. I've been in management. I know that I can get more out of people when I respect them because they will respect me. You don't get respect from fear. And if you use fear to get rid of anger. So if you think you can control people with fear, maybe that's what the COVID was about and all that stuff. But that's not how I operate. And I want people to know that I am there for them, not for me, not for the developers, not for the city. I am there for them, what they want. Let me know, and I will do what I can to do it.
Right, folks, here we have it. We have a candidate for Myrtle Beach City Councilor, Mr. Stuart Behar, who is running at large. And we also have for North Myrtle Beach City Council, Hunter Platt, who is running for the Crescent area. So, folks, please get out and vote. And if you happen to be a candidate seeking office in any area, I encourage you to reach out to me. You can message me here on Facebook. You can message me here on YouTube, or you can message me on X/Twitter, whichever program that you're using to watch the show tonight. Let me know if you would like to come on, and we'll have you on and let you answer some of the same questions and let folks know where you stand on the issues. I do believe we have someone coming up. Justin Alexander is running for city council in Easley, South Carolina, because Paramount Politics, although I'm located here in ORE, we do cover the state. So if you are running for office across the state of South Carolina, we encourage you to reach out to us because, folks, let's be honest, the mainstream media is not going to take the time to allow these candidates to have this option to come out and share their thoughts and their views so that voters really have knowledge of who they are electing. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both again for taking the time. And I also want to applaud you for stepping up and running. Running for office is not something that you go into lightly. As you mentioned, Hunter, it typically costs some money, and you normally don't get that money back. And I know, based on just, as I said, running myself, that the income or salary that you may get while in office is nothing compared to what you're going to pull out of your own pocket. So thank you both for being patriots and willing to step up and serve the people of Horry County, whether it be in Myrtle Beach or whether it be in North Myrtle Beach. I wish you both the best of luck, and the folks here in Horry County are grateful that you came on tonight. That's all we've got, folks. I appreciate your time for checking in with us. We look forward to talking to you again next week, Tuesday morning, our show from 9:15 to 10:15. And possibly that evening, we'll be doing a 6 o'clock show just like this one, dealing with Justin Alexander from Easley County. So thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night. And as always, God bless, Godspeed, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.